Okay. Sorry for the slight photo op delay. This regular meeting of the Board of Education for June 11, 2019 is called to order. Welcome to everyone present and to our television viewers. For tonight's meeting, any item that will be voted on this evening has been posted. This meeting is being televised live and will be replayed throughout the next 2 weeks. Please check the board website for replay times. This meeting is also being streamed live on our PPS TV Services website. We also have interpreters with us this evening, and I'd like to ask them to come forward at this time, introduce themselves in the language into which they'll be interpreting, and inform the audience where they'll be located in the auditorium should someone need their assistance.
Hola y muy buenas tardes, me llamo Daniel y voy a estar ofreciendo una interpretación en español para los que les necesita. Muchas gracias y que tengan buenas tardes.
Добрый вечер. Если вам нужен русский перевод, меня зовут Мария, я буду находиться в холле. Спасибо.
لغة الصومال هدي ربتي كذلك نعسن جوا.
Kính chào quý vị. Nếu quý vị cần thông dịch viên người Việt Nam, xin quý vị về phía sau của hội trường sẽ có thông dịch viên cho quý vị. Cảm ơn quý vị.
我是中文翻译，假如有需要的话，我可以帮忙你。我係中文翻譯，如果你需要，我可以幫你。
I'd also like to take this opportunity to welcome Kara Huff, who has now joined the board office. And we're very happy to welcome her. So we'll start with student and public comment. Before we begin the public comment period, I'd like to review the guidelines for public comment. The board thanks the community for taking the time to attend this meeting and provide your comments to the board. We value public input as it informs our work, and we look forward to hearing your thoughts, reflections, and concerns. Our responsibility as a board is to actively listen with our electronic devices turned off and papers put aside. One quick reminder, any signs, any oversized signs need to be in the back, and signs in the audience should not be held in a way that obstructs anyone's view. Board members and the superintendent will not respond to comments or questions during public comment, but the board office will follow up on board-related issues raised during public testimony. If you would like a response, please contact Ms. Huff. Guidelines for public input emphasize respect and consideration of others. Complaints about individual employees should be directed to the superintendent's office as a personnel matter. If you have additional materials or items you'd like to provide to the board or superintendent, we ask that you give them to Ms. Huff to distribute to us. Presenters will have a total of 3 minutes to share your comments. Please begin by stating your name and spelling your last name for the record. During the first 2 minutes of testimony, a green light will appear. When you have 1 minute remaining, a yellow light will go on. And when your time is up, the red light will go on and a buzzer will sound. We respectfully ask that you conclude your comments at that time. We appreciate your input and thank you for your cooperation. Ms. Huff, do we have anybody signed up for student or public comment?
Yes, we do. We have Kira Swinth and Aruna Bharati.
Hi there. My name is Kira Swinth, Swinth spelled S-W-I-N-T-H, and I am a junior at Cleveland High School. I would quickly like to thank Scott Bailey for attending our spring CrossFit showdown at the Cleveland track back on May 31st. Thank you. There are not many days that stand out in my mind like the day that I did my first pull-up. While this simple movement may seem like not much, it represented so much of my journey to finding self-worth and empowerment. I entered the Cleveland CrossFit program my freshman year of high school with the intention of fulfilling my PE requirement. I had no desire to pursue such an intimidating and intense sport. I walked into the weight room the first day with a lot of baggage, and I soon learned that my mentor, Mandy Weaver, made it her goal not only to help me find purpose in my physical education, but to also unpack this baggage to help me find purpose within myself. I entered the class with self-doubt and very little confidence. I even told Mandy in the first month of my freshman year that my body's proportions made it so I would never be able to do a pull-up. Mandy, little by little, chipped away at my self-doubt. It was simple reminders here and there that I was good enough. It was her kindness. It was the example she set. A little over a year later, I walked up to the pull-up bar with a new mindset. Yes, I can. I can do a pull-up. I can do just about anything. This transformation of confidence is in part due to the unique community that our CrossFit program fosters, but it is also in part due to Mandy's unwavering support for girls like me. Unfortunately, Mandy has been unassigned from Cleveland for the 2019-2020 school year, a second time for her in the past 2 years. With the loss of Mandy as my teacher, I am concerned for the program and girls like me who may not have someone to support them. On top of this, without Mandy, Cleveland will have no female staff member present in the girls' locker room area because there is no other female PE teacher. This presents both physical and emotional safety concerns. Furthermore, I wonder if not having a female PE teacher in the gym, weight room, and specifically girls' locker room is potentially a Title IX violation. Under Title IX, students' participation in athletics and, of course, academic programs should avoid and prevent programs with disproportionate enrollment based on sex and ensure that sex discrimination is not causing any negative effects to students' access to equal educational opportunities. Currently, the CrossFit program under Mandy's leadership has increased the female student participation by 3% each year, resulting in more girls in the weight room. Also, gender nonconforming and trans students have expressed to me that they feel more comfortable in the gym where it is often hypermasculine, where often hypermasculinity has been the norm. Mandy has created an inclusive environment for all students. And our concerns go beyond our female identifying students at Cleveland. Based on forecasting numbers, there will be just under 100 students who will not be able to take CrossFit next year because the number of sections has been reduced to 3. Our CrossFit program is thriving as a community of support and love, but the funding is not reflecting our growth. We need help and we need support. We need girls to feel welcome and safe in athletic spaces, and we need instructors like Mandy Weaver.
Hello. Oh, that's nice.
Okay, I'm going to ask some indulgence tonight. This is Kara's first time hitting the buttons. So I think we all have to give a little grace here. And it's not an easy thing. So anyway, go ahead.
Okay. Hello. My name is Aruna Barati, and I'm a sophomore at Cleveland High School. Growing up in a refugee camp, me and my family didn't have many opportunities to do what we wanted to do and how to do it. After my hometown was destroyed by India and China taking over, we had to flee from the place we called home. Soon after, I learned that me and my family were going to have a new home in Portland. It was very hard for me to adapt to the new culture, making new friends and learning how to speak a new language. But I did, and finishing middle school was really hard for me because knowing that I was about to go into high school was very stressful. I always saw that little people such as myself got bullied in movies, and I didn't want that for myself. I decided to take speed and strength training, which is the intro-level CrossFit class, instead of PE. Because my sister told me it was empowering for her and she learned a lot about herself throughout that class. First day of speed and strength training, and I'm scared. I think to myself, I'm 80 pounds. I cannot lift. I go downstairs and see Mandy Weaver telling the class the workout of the day. As the year went on, I did activities with the higher-level CrossFit class and formally met Mandy. Mandy made me feel welcome and encouraged me to take CrossFit for a sophomore year. She made me feel like CrossFit was a place for me that I could be successful and in the class. It inspired me to persist through challenges that I experienced in other spaces dominated by men, such as wrestling. I am one of 2 girls at Cleveland High School, on the Cleveland High School wrestling team, and it is due to CrossFit that I see myself as a strong, independent athlete who is equally capable as all my male athletes. However, I am concerned for my safety next year in CrossFit if Mandy isn't there. I feel like I can talk to her about my experience as a female athlete and almost about anything going on in my life. She makes me feel included as a female athlete in her class. This is the goal of Title IX, right? Girls like me have the opportunities to feel welcome and safe in athletic spaces. Having a female instructor is fundamentally to my safety in the space. I've seen a lot in my life. It's often hard to feel like I have a voice and a community that supports me after having lived through all the different circumstances. Mandy reminds me of the voice and makes me feel at home in CrossFit. Thank you.
Next, Brady Ross and Rebecca Hannafin.
Okay. Hi, my name's Brady Nicole Ross, R-O-S-S. I'm the parent of 2 high school students at Cleveland. I'm an educator myself. I'm here today to talk about the decision to let go of CrossFit coach Mandy Weaver. This decision has many consequences that I don't think have been properly addressed by the administration. First of all, Coach Weaver is the only female fitness instructor. I'm aware that health and PE fall into the same department, therefore evening out the gender representation. However, Mandy's departure would effectively mean not one female is in a coaching role in PE. Representation matters. Time and again, studies have shown that young girls benefit from seeing women in various roles, especially ones that have been traditionally reserved for males only, as in the case of weightlifting. Coach Weaver has an unparalleled effect on the female population who take CrossFit. She represents a female role model in a predominantly male field. Removing her would once again give the indication that CrossFit and weightlifting are male endeavors, as the only other coaches for those activities are male. Similarly, the locker room poses an issue because it is an enclosed, semi-private space. Bathrooms are the same kind of space. Incidences of bullying, violence, harassment, alcohol, tobacco, drug use, vandalism, eating disorders, and self-injurious behavior, which girls are more likely to engage in, are higher in these types of spaces. Not having a female instructor as a supervisor or to do random periodic sweeps of the locker room leaves those female students vulnerable. Although female health teachers are on campus, they're not around during these times to make sure female students are safe. This seems like a liability. As a parent of 2 students there, I'm dismayed that student safety is not taken more seriously. Today I took a look through public school policy on locker room supervision throughout the U.S. Overwhelmingly, schools make sure to have someone in the locker room for safety purposes. Even just knowing a teacher is in the locker room area or an adjoining office can cut down on behavioral issues. Lastly, I have to mention that Coach Weaver has gone above and beyond her job to involve people from outside the school. In terms of community outreach and building, CrossFit is a sport based on community. Mandy Weaver has proven she is a coach who reaches out to the public at events to build community and raise money. Mandy has shown an ability to bring people together and to shine a positive light on Cleveland High School, as well as the work the kids and coaches are doing. Recently, she put together an event that brought together 210 athletes from 18 different CrossFit and fitness facilities and raised over $6,000 in this one event throughout the district, to raise $6,000 throughout the district. Students learn not only personal fitness and weightlifting, they're learning about how to be a part of their larger community. As of right now, roughly 10% of the current population of Cleveland take CrossFit. I think that should matter.
Good evening. My name is Rebecca Hannafin. I'm a member of the PPS Dyslexia Advocacy Group. I'm here tonight to thank you for listening to the concerns and recommendations of the dyslexia community over the last year. You are taking meaningful steps to become a national leader in the arena of literacy acquisition for all students and in creating an environment that supports learners with dyslexia. There is a growing awareness among school districts across the nation that current practices for reading instruction do not meet the needs of 20% or more of today's students. This statistic has devastating impacts on children who struggle or fail to learn to read. These are the same students who are most likely to drop out of school due to frustration. Early learning success and appropriate supports for learners with dyslexia is fundamental to a quality K-12 education program. Scientific studies demonstrate that learners with dyslexia can be taught to read, and techniques that work for struggling readers have benefits for all students. Having a system that meets the needs of all types of learners is also a key equity issue. low-income, Black, Brown, and Indigenous families are least likely to be able to afford private tutoring. We strongly support your decision in the 2019-2020 budget to hire a dyslexia coordinator to invest in professional development in support of effective early literacy teaching methods and to conduct a gap analysis. We hope that the work of the dyslexia coordinator is largely dedicated to working with internal and external partners to assess the entire K-12 system and to develop a comprehensive plan to close the literacy gap for students by providing appropriate supports for learners with dyslexia. Major components of the district's dyslexia plan are likely to include continued professional development and teacher training, intervention tools for Tier 2 and Tier 3 learners, technology solutions, and changes in policy and instructional practices. Developing a good roadmap for the systemic changes needed to achieve literacy for all is fundamental, and we support this important work. We continue to recommend the establishment of a PPS Dyslexia Advisory Group that would include parents, students, and educators. This advisory group would be useful in developing the district's dyslexia plan and in providing feedback for implementation measures. The Dyslexia Family Information Night that was held on May 30th of this year is a great example of a positive collaboration between the dyslexia community and the district. That meeting was very successful. It was very well received by folks in our group, and we look forward to continuing this type of partnership in the next school year. Thank you again for your leadership and for engaging so openly with our passionate and knowledgeable dyslexia community.
Got Natasha Lenhart and Emily Guini.
Hello, my name is Emily Giugni, Giugni, and I'm here as a Wriggler parent and the PTA president. First, we want to express our most heartfelt gratitude. Thank you so much for finding the way to get electives for incoming Wriggler students at Beaumont. Having music and the arts available for our kids will have such a positive effect on engagement. I'm especially grateful to hear that you are potentially considering a part-time music teacher at Wriggler and Scott itself. What impresses me most about this is the big picture planning that supports and ties together the whole Madison cluster. You show an interest in setting our kids up for long-term success and an understanding of the interconnectedness of these things. By doing this, you are setting up the fantastic Madison music teacher, Jeremy Dell, to have a successful high school program, hopefully contributing to the improvement in graduation rates that we all want to see. I also have a grave concern. We understand that next year's plan is to have 31 students in each of Wriggler's 2 third-grade classrooms. This is absolutely untenable. All classrooms at Wriggler are overcrowded next year. We are losing all our EAs, and yet parents agree it's 3rd grade. We absolutely must have a 3rd teacher. We know Wriggler. With 31 kids in the classroom at our school, no education will occur in this critical year. 31 kids. It won't work. We'll either have a mass exodus of families, or we're going to have to put in a Band-Aid teacher in October for rebalancing, creating more structural chaos at Wriggler. These classrooms will be madness. I have been a parent at Wriggler for 7 years. I feel like I can talk with authority on this, as I've been there longer than any teacher, and I have been there longer than almost any staff. One more 3rd grade teacher will still have class sizes at over 20 per class. This is a CSI school. Do we really want to bring in a Band-Aid solution in October when we have already endured so much change? This will have a ripple effect on everything. Third grade is a critical year. We absolutely must get kids reading by the third grade. Right now, we are at 20% benchmark. Thank you for showing concern for all of the Madison cluster. One last thing, our teacher was unable to attend, and we would like to have a substitute person speak on his behalf, if that would be possible.
This is a bit of a breach of protocol, but I'd like to make a request of staff based on that, based on your testimony, because as we know, Rigler now is an anomaly in terms of being a non-lottery DLI school, and all of our lottery programs have caps on the number of students, and so this is something I'd like to see an explanation of from staff as to why we do limit class size in our DLI classes in all of our other immersion schools, and yet because it's not a lottery for Rigler, we're not adhering to the same class size thresholds. So I'm just making that information request, Superintendent, please. Thank you, and thank you for your microphone.
My name is Natasha Lenhart, Lenhart, and my issue is of a personal matter. Some years ago, many years ago, I unfortunately was unable to graduate high school. However, I went on to get an AA, a BA, a master's, and be admitted to the MSW program at Portland State. A few years ago, I decided that I wanted my high school diploma. That was the only spot on the wall that was empty. So I went about calling who I thought could help me do that. And in fact, I saw many shows on TV about people being given their high school diploma after the fact. So I spoke to approximately 20 people over a 3-month period. Nobody said no, but nobody gave me any direction or focus. Mostly they just gave me another phone number. At Grant, I even spoke to the principal at the time and offered to speak to the at-risk youth, do some kind of a group meeting and tell my story. Anyway, no takers. So finally, my brother, who's a retired school teacher, the other day said, "Why don't you go?" Why didn't I come here? So here I am, and it seems nobody knows the policy. That was the first issue. Nobody could tell me why Grant High School couldn't give me my high school diploma from 50 years ago, even though I had fulfilled all the requirements, and in fact, I have all the documentation. So I guess the two issues today are, I would at least like to know what the policy is for Portland Public Schools in issuing me a diploma, why I can't have my diploma, and if the policy does not include my issue, how can I get it anyway to fill that hole on the wall? Thank you.
Can you give your contact information to Ms. Huff, and we'll follow up with you? Okay, thank you. Do we have any more speakers?
Yes, we have Stephen Weller and Anthony Tesso.
Go ahead.
Hello, my name is Stephen Weller, and I am the site support instructor at Rigler Elementary. and I'm here to speak about our need for smaller class sizes. I know this is a difficult decision. I don't know what the level of need is across the district in other schools that might also be facing similar situations. But I want to advocate for Wriggler. This is my second year teaching there, and we're doing everything we can to help our students to grow in their independence, using skills to deal with conflicts between each other, to take control of their own learning, to give them the reading and the math skills and the thinking skills that they need to continue to grow. We're doing as much as we can to reach them with a message of positivity and hope. That's the best thing that I've seen at Wriggler, is that we love our students and that we tell them that we believe in them and that we show them that they are valuable people. We're doing our best in that effort, and we're always working on getting better. Having 30 students, third graders, having to be inside the school building for the first time, having to walk upstairs for the first time in a classroom that's too small and that gets hot in the summer, at the beginning of the school year and at the end of the school year, will be a very big challenge. If it's in the budget to give us another teacher for third grade next year, that will have an effect that will help out our teachers and students a great deal. So I know it's a tough decision, but I'm here to ask for another third grade teacher for Wriggler for next year. Thank you.
Thank you all again for your comments. And please feel free to connect with Roseanne Powell or Ms. Huff tonight if you have something specifically you want to follow up with the board about. So, Superintendent's report. Superintendent Guerrero?
Good evening, directors. Good evening. Good evening, directors. As the 2018-19 school year comes to a close this week, last day of classes for students being tomorrow, followed in a few days by our teachers, it seemed like a natural time for, in tonight's report, to sum up some highlights from the school year and to showcase some end-of-the-year achievements and celebrations. I believe this year has been one of much progress in the district along many different fronts, all focused on becoming a better organization, one centered on supporting our leaders and educators to positively impact on our student outcomes. This is transformative work. It's a process of continuous improvement, and I'm appreciative of our school leaders, educators, support staff for their hard work and dedication. So as we close out the school year, we're already getting busy as we engage in a lot of planning this summer for a continued successful launch in the coming school year. So just to take a quick look back, I know it seems like a long time ago, but if you recall, on the first day of classes this past August, I was able to be joined by board and PAT leadership and was able to be present at our two new middle schools, Harriet Tubman and Roseway Heights. The doors opened to more than 1,000 students who now have access to a comprehensive middle grades education. I think this is evidence of our commitment to continue redesigning and improving our middle grades offerings and to expand offerings to students, particularly in underserved communities. We also put a tremendous effort into the ongoing rollout of a standards-based core curriculum across all grade levels in Portland. This begins to establish a scope and sequence of instruction that will continue to support our educators with guidance in teaching and learning, and that has included a great deal of professional development, which will continue for our teachers and principals. As far as outcomes, our graduation rates continue to edge upwards. We're getting more seniors across the stage. This includes continuing to focus on engaging and offering students with a rich array of CTE programs, advanced coursework, which includes partnership with colleges and universities, multiple pathways in graduation, and a concerted intervention in student success teams and focus on attendance. Remarkably, Black and African American graduation rates went up 6% this past spring. Our visioning, development of a vision, we spent months engaging thousands of students, families, school and district leaders, as well as community members in a deep conversation about our developing a shared vision for the future of our district and of our graduates. Together, we have begun to describe and develop a graduate portrait, what we want our future graduates to know and be able to do in their quest to become global leaders. We also identified and collaborated in identifying educator essentials and system shifts necessary to support our students. This has been an ambitious community engagement project. Thank you, directors, for your active involvement and leadership. The outcome of this collaborative work is going to help to guide our decisions and actions for years to come. This year, we also commenced the development of our Master Arts Education Plan. We've taken stock, a full inventory of our arts discipline offerings across our schools, and we have ambitious goals to continue expanding visual and performing arts opportunities for students. We continue to make steady progress in the safety and modernization of our schools. Grant High School will be opening to students this August, and we'll start building Kellogg and reconstructing Madison, Lincoln, and Benson as our next projects. We are grateful for the generosity of our local taxpayers, for their deep commitment to providing excellent and inspiring teaching and learning environments for our students here in Portland. And there's a lot of work happening over the summer. New seismically strengthened roofs will be built at Sinton and Rigler Elementary Schools and Jackson Middle. Rigler and Rose City Park will get new elevators. Work will begin seismically retrofitting Hayhurst. Jefferson High will receive fire alarm upgrades, a new fire sprinkler system. Other schools are going to be getting fire alarms this summer: Da Vinci, Community Transition, Jason Lee, Ainsworth, Maplewood, and West Sylvan. Asbestos remediation projects are going to be taking place at Lane, Woodstock, Vestal, Marysville, Beaumont, Rigler, and Capitol Hill. Lead paint stabilization work is also in full swing this summer, with improvements taking place at 30 sites. And the work on the first group of 26 schools getting security upgrades will begin in July, with a second group of schools underway later this summer. Our third group of students will commence their work in the fall, finishing altogether in the spring 2020. Close to 3,000 students earned their high school diplomas in the past week, and we had some wonderful graduations last week. Just a quick photo tour: Benson, Cleveland, and Franklin. I'm glad you noticed. Grant, Jefferson, and Lincoln. Madison, Roosevelt, and Wilson, all in their school colors. Alliance at Meek, Metropolitan Learning Center, and Alliance at Benson. I want to thank our communications photographer, Beth Conyers, for some wonderful photography, our directors for participating in many of our ceremonies, and I want to thank Oregonian reporter Eder Campuzano, credit for supplying us for the Alliance at Meek photo and his coverage of the ceremony. This shows a snapshot of Alliance student Lexi Morris getting her diploma from Principal Lorna Fast Buffalo Horse. You can catch Lexi's story of overcoming barriers and the work of our multiple pathways to graduation programs recently detailed in Oregon Live. Over the years, our culturally specific student groups have celebrated their academic and peer leaders and achievers in a variety of ways and ceremonies. This year, we tried something a little different and established a single night to honor our students of color, an all-star event that featured food, entertainment, and a host of inspirational words from our students themselves and community leaders. The evening, by all accounts, was a success, and I'm guessing we've started a new tradition here in PPS. I want to make sure to credit our strategic partnerships and engagement team for coming up with and putting on the event, especially Camille Edidevdum. Thank you. Congratulations to you and to all of our PPS All-Stars. Our students are not the only ones getting recognized these days. We're coming off a pretty eventful time here in Portland. Celebrating its own traditions and events. Our own Benson Tech principal was knighted by the Royal Rosarians, and henceforth we'll be referring to him as Sir Curtis Wilson. Lent K-8 was also awarded a first place award in the Junior Rose Fest Parade, taking home the blue ribbon for Best Theme. Way to go, Leopards. And I want to make sure we recognize Pride Month. We'll have a strong contingent in the Portland Pride Parade this Saturday, June 15th on the waterfront. Next year, hopefully when we're doing a look backwards, we'll be talking about our substantive progress in a few areas to include climate justice, dyslexia, arts education offerings, middle school redesign, and other work strands that we're looking forward to embarking on in the coming school year. So sometimes the best way to sum up our accomplishments is to hear directly from some of our students and educators from across the district. So a short video clip for you.
We are the leaders our students are waiting for. You are the leaders they're waiting for. Let's have a great school year.
We are helping Chief Joseph's school get ready for the other people that are gonna move into our classes.
We're here at Roseway Heights Middle School. It's the first day of school here in Portland, and we're really excited.
It is our first day, 6th graders only, and wow, a great day.
We're really excited about seeing the wonderful smiles on the first day of kindergarten. It's going to be a fantastic year for all of our schools and all of our kids.
We're on the school bus and we're heading to Ainsworth.
I haven't done PE in over a long time. It's been great. I've been sitting in Mandarin class for the last 2 hours.
Hi, I'm Camille. Nice to meet you.
I had a lot of questions about college and she made sure to answer them, so that was good.
Thanks.
And we support our own school community, we support the Odyssey needs and the Ainsworth needs.
We add like a protein and fruit and vegetable and some fresh produce to each of them.
Once they see what it can do and what they can do on their own, then we're going to do some like more formal lessons where they'll do very specific things.
We're choosing our background right now. It's kind of like math. It's math coding.
Like for all of our concepts, like for language arts, for math, for science, we start building those habits of minds for young students.
What we have behind me is a tiny house on a 24-foot trailer that our students have constructed.
The middle part right behind you would be the living area.
I've always been a physical learner, so having this class is a nice break and something that I see myself doing in the future.
And today we have a group of students that are going to come see Grant, some for the first time, some that have seen it before, and find out what they think about it.
So you can see we put in the second floor, we rebuilt the skylight, painted the trusses, painted the ceiling.
It's an art building and I think it looks really cool.
I'd like to bring out the 6A state champion for 2019, the Lady Texters. Where you at?
Well, today was a celebration for our Benson Lady Texters, just to recognize the incredible feat that they accomplished in winning the state championship.
So one thing that we've heard from our community is that they want to be part of the conversation. They want to be part of the process and be part of dialoguing with our administration. So the World Cafe format really offered the community an opportunity to have meaningful conversations with members of our senior leadership team.
And I have to say we are so thrilled for today and so glad that you're here to celebrate with us. This project is a long time in coming, and this community.
The exciting part of the morning. There's a lot of dirt over here. We got to move to the other side, and there's just a few shovels, so we're going to have to take some turns.
To everyone here today, we present you the graduated class of 2019.
Thank you to all our principals, our teachers, our support staff, everybody that keeps PPS running for your hard work and dedication. We know you're due a well-deserved summer to our students and families. We hope you have a safe and rejuvenating summer, and we'll look forward to seeing you back here in August. That concludes my report.
Thank you. It's been an eventful year. So reiterating Superintendent Guerrero, thank you to everybody who has helped students this year graduate get promoted, move into, explore new things and learn new things. Looking forward to another eventful year next year. The next item is the Franklin mascot name. The Board of Education received several complaints from community members regarding the name of Quakers being used as the nickname for Franklin High School mascot and school identification. The board determined that the name Quakers, as used by Franklin High School, violates policy number 2.20.010, 21B3, because Quakers is the name of a religious group. The complainants sought a change to the name of the Franklin High School nickname of Quakers, asserting that the name Quakers is the name of an organized religion and as such is inappropriate, offensive, and unconstitutional. In response to the complaint, the superintendent submitted to the board a request for review of PPS's naming school district property policy. The Board of Education conducted a comprehensive review of the naming school district property policy and made numerous changes to the policy, including revised criteria for the naming of school district property, including schools, mascots, symbols, and other images considered for representation of a school or district. Following this change to district policy, the board directed district staff to commence a public committee review process to determine a new mascot identification for Franklin High School. Superintendent Guerrero, would you like to walk us through this?
Yeah, this is a long-awaited item, and speaking to this agenda topic, we have Franklin High School's very own principal, Chris Frazier, here this evening. And I also want to give kudos to Cameron Vaughn from our Communications and Public Engagement Office. I think this is her swan song here in helping facilitate a process, and I think we have the privilege of hearing from one of our student leaders as well. So I think they're going to come up and speak to the item. Thank you.
Good evening, Superintendent and board members. My name is Cameron Vaughn, and I am Manager of Community Engagement. My last name is Vaughan. In November of last year, I presented to you a plan for engaging Franklin High School community in helping to select a new name for the school mascot and identity. Under your guidance, we crafted a plan to pull together a well-rounded, multi-generational, and culturally diverse committee whose purpose was to come up with a new identity to replace the century-old Quakers mascot. Knowing this name change is a sensitive issue for Franklin High School alums, Principal Frazier and I personally reached out to alumni members so that they could be part of this historic change. I'm so glad we did, for we were lucky to have alum and former business manager Steve Matthews back on campus, and I would not have met Bob Ernest and Alex Rodriguez otherwise. Their input was invaluable during our meetings. We advertised the committee membership in November and December and received numerous calls and emails from interested people. It was great to be able to connect and find out why they wanted to serve and what they hoped the outcome would be. In the end, we had a 19-person committee and thoughtful participation at every meeting. Having 8 student members on the committee was vital, as they were insightful, fresh, and smart, and their logic, Flora, often surpasses that of some of us older members. For me, it is a great reminder of the reason for the work we do, and they are going to be the ones who are impacted most by the name choice. We had current and past parents, staff, community members, students, and alums. We had 6 meetings between January and May. All of the meetings were open to the public, and the time and place were publicized on the PPS website. We had a dedicated email, phone number, and we put together a survey which was distributed throughout Franklin High School, feeder schools, PIL groups, affinity groups, parents, neighborhood association, and local businesses immediately around the school, as well as neighbors and alums. We delivered flyers to houses and businesses around the neighborhood and received nearly 1,700 responses to the survey, as well as approximately 100 write-in name suggestions. Following the survey, we reviewed the name suggestions one by one, and there were some colorful and creative contributions. Sasquatch, the inventors, flamingos, the Volts, the turkeys, the Benjamins, the meerkats, and so on. But none of the suggested names sparked the sense of excitement of the original 6 names the committee came up with after speaking to peers, students, staff, and friends. After much review and a final vote, the committee ultimately chose Lightning as their #1 choice, and there was 0 dissension among the membership. Lightning has historical connections, as Benjamin Franklin experimented with lightning and was the first to recognize its electrical properties. The last 6 months were a great experience, and I know our membership is happy with the outcome. Thank you for this opportunity to help the committee make Franklin history.
Good evening, Superintendent Guerrero and board members. The Franklin High School Mascot Identification Committee was a collaborative and inclusive process which followed the requirements set out by the committee charter. In working with our staff and partners, we essentially who were recommended through ASB, leadership, Step Up Sun, and via teacher recommendations, we were able to identify what students would be able to participate in this epic event for our school and our community. Students were also given the opportunity to self-nominate or to nominate a peer for their participation. The names that were gathered were reviewed to assure that within that our community was represented by each grade level, as well as reflected the diversity within our school, and also met the requirements of the committee charter. We worked with the understanding that a good representation of our students from different cultural communities was necessary to be in part of this process. I then held an introductory meeting with all the students to discuss the objective, the process, and the time commitment. With regards to how our meetings were conducted, the meetings were facilitated by myself and with the support of district provided personnel, Cameron Vaughn. The meetings were structured where all members, students, parents, teachers, staff, alumni, community members, and coaches all had an equal voice, regardless of their affiliation or role within the school. All the meeting times were posted on the Franklin High School Mascot Committee website and were open to the public. Our first meeting in January, we reviewed the background. We talked about the committee charge, where we reviewed the charter. We talked about the board policy, as well as the admin directives, which would support this process, as well as discuss the naming process. The action item that came out of that meeting was for each representative to meet with their constituent groups to come up with potential mascot names. In February, the idea was for us to report out on those mascot names and go through a narrowing down exercise. Also in that meeting, we identified what are the priorities with regards to the name selection. We looked at things that resonated with Benjamin Franklin or our school specifically. We looked at our Southeast community or our neighborhood, and also something that was gender neutral and non-offensive. The idea was also to create a survey using the top 6 names that were created, which Cameron just spoke to, and create a survey that would be presented to the entire community so that we could receive feedback. The survey was issued out through the principal newsletter, through school announcements, school messenger, clubs, student affinity groups. We canvassed the neighborhood physically. We shared with our feeder schools, as well as posted on the alumni website, and with the idea of implementing the survey and going live. Our March meeting consisted again of reviewing the data from the survey as it was now live, and again narrowed down the names that were suggested. Also recognizing that as part of the survey, there was an option for individuals to add in, and so that's how we come up with Sasquatch and some of the other names that, again, were very creative. Through our March meeting, it was a very authentic conversations as we sat around with lots of, and really embraced the diversity within the group based upon age, based upon gender, based upon race, as we look to align the priorities of our name with the priorities of our mission. We also looked at other ways that we could promote this event. So how can we get the information out to our larger community in the event that we happen to miss some? So we looked at publicizing at the PTSA auction. We looked at school events, i.e. choir concerts, athletic events. In April, we then came together and again reviewed the data from the survey which Cameron provided, and also looked to how we would reach out to additional affinity groups, who again was missing. I attended several student and parent affinity groups to ask for their recommendation and advice to assure that our potential names would be one that would be not only supported, but also not be seen as culturally insensitive. Again, reaching out to our family leadership team, Step Up Family Parents, the I Am Academy, our Black Student Union, our Latino club, as well as our athletic teams. And finally, in April, we all came together, which was the big day for us as a school, where we were looking as a committee to vote and discuss the process for submitting the recommendation to Superintendent Guerrero and the PPS School Board. This process was transparent, it was inclusive and collaborative. The media attended our last meeting, and it was comforting knowing that the proposed mascot names were vetted through a principled process, was done the right way, and had the support of everyone in the room with the names that were put forward. This process, as you can well imagine, could have been seen as divisive or problematic, as change is not easy. However, it was the strong support of the staff, the community, our students, and our Alumni Association members that assisted in this transition. We recognize that regardless of the name, it is how we support our students and treat one another in our community that matters most and how we will truly be remembered. And now I'd like to introduce student commentary from Flora Pollock.
Good evening. My name is Flora Pollock, and I had the honor of being asked by Principal Frazier to serve on the Franklin Mascot Identification Committee. Being a member of Franklin's ASB, I was excited to have another opportunity to represent my peers in a process that would be forever a part of Franklin High School's great history. At first, I felt nervous to meet with such a large and diverse group, many of whom were older than me. However, I soon realized that we all shared a common interest in Franklin High School and a mutual goal in choosing an appropriate new mascot. Each meeting was very exciting as we brainstormed various name suggestions. Some were based on Ben Franklin's history, while others found meaning in the alliteration. Within these meetings, respectful debate was had on different names. After surveying numerous stakeholders, our committee was able to wholeheartedly agree on a new mascot, the Franklin Lightning. Throughout this process, I was able to use social media as well as my position as ASB Publicity Chair to communicate updates with my peers. After a proposal was announced, it was exciting to see community members discuss the name change in multiple forums. Hearing and reading various comments, I felt proud of our final decision. Sitting here in front of you all tonight, I am cognizant of the historic decision I've been able to be a part of. Knowing that this mascot will live on much longer than my time at Franklin High School, representing my neighborhood in Southeast Portland, it is a truly gratifying feeling. Thank you.
Thank you.
I just want to thank Principal Frazier, Franklin students, and the broader community for the thoughtful and deliberate process. Thank you, Cameron. We've reviewed your process, and we're forwarding the recommendation for the board's approval this evening.
I just think it's a really striking name for a mascot, but I've gotten really charged up listening to you.
Okay, let's do the motion first, and then we can discuss. Okay, do I have a motion?
Second.
Director Brim Edwards moves. Director Esparza Brown seconds the motion to adopt Resolution 5900. Is there any public comment? No? Okay. Okay, any board discussion?
So I think over the last year, I've got all the public comment. No lack of it. So I'm not going to call out that Principal Frazier is not even wearing the school colors tonight.
Unlike some people.
So I just want to recognize, I don't have any questions for you, but I want to recognize just the sort of persistence of some people in the Franklin community that about 5 years ago thought it was time to make an important change at Franklin, but knowing also that it wouldn't be an easy change. And I think the last time that PPS had a mascot change was in the 80s at Cleveland High School. And so a group of parents and community members, primarily parents, filed a complaint with the district. It didn't go anywhere. They got the runaround. Then they filed another complaint, and I want to acknowledge that when that complaint came before the board, a year and a half ago, we received a recommendation from the superintendent to that it was time to adjust our policy, because actually our policy still allowed for the current name, and that started a process by which I thought we had a great discussion about what names and symbols and images mean and the impacts they have on people. So something that some people may hold dear can be deeply offensive and hurtful to others. And I thought it was a really good discussion, and it gave us an opportunity in the committee process and then further at the board process to align our policy to our values. So thank you, Superintendent, for that recommendation, and to the board members for your work, and I think a sort of courageously changing things, even because change is hard. And we had a really valuable assist from the Office of the General Counsel. Thank you, Ms. Kane, for the work that you did in changing the policy. And I think where we landed gives us a policy that really will stand the test of time. And I think then ultimately it made the decision that we needed to have a change of the mascot much easier. It was really clear what we needed to do when we had the right framework. I had an opportunity to attend the kickoff meeting, and everything that was related here really captured the spirit of the conversation, even though you had people who were sort of ardent Quaker alums in the room, and students in a really diverse group, that it was respectful and I believe really trying to honor creating a new future. I don't want to underestimate that this is going to be a big change from the Franklin community. So having been a resident for 50 years in Southeast Portland, there's a lot of people who grew up in the neighborhood, went to Franklin, and are very proud of their high school. And part of that, the tradition, is the connection to the current, soon-to-be a former mascot. And they're proud of Franklin, which is a huge asset to the community. They believe in Franklin strong. They love their school and they love their tradition. So it's not going to be easy. And I really have a lot of respect for Cameron and the communications office and Principal Fraser and all the participants on the panel, because it could have been a divisive process, and it was not. And I think the fact that we're here tonight with no dissent is a symbol of that. So I guess the one thing, and I have heard a lot from people in my neighborhood, lots of people who attended Franklin, that I guess the message would be to Franklin alum that tonight's action doesn't erase your history or invalidate it in any way, but tonight just begins a new chapter for the Franklin community and Southeast Portland, and one I think that will be inclusive, reflects our values, and I think the biggest challenge is we're all going to have to learn how to correctly spell the word lightning. So again, I want to thank everybody involved, and also to the parents who sort of kicked this process off 5 years ago and persisted, because but for that, we wouldn't be here tonight.
Any other discussion?
So, Principal Fraser, is it lightening or lightning?
Okay.
We'll greet that with thunderous applause.
Oh my God.
Okay, we could all do that, but we'll refrain. Okay, any other commentary? I think it's a testament to the process and the fidelity with which you carried out the process that that this gives all the appearances of being a welcome change, and that was not a given 18 months ago. So thank you for all the work. Okay, the board will now vote on Resolution 5900. All in favor, please indicate by saying yes.
Yes.
All opposed, say no. Any abstentions? Student representative?
You don't get to vote.
Oh, you don't get to vote
But
yet,
can I
sorry.
say something really fast?
Please.
I just wanted to say I'm really proud of my friend Flora because she's worked really hard on this and like just watching all of her hard work on this project. I know it's been hard to talk with all of our students because we have a lot of them, but I'm just really proud of her and the whole committee, and I'm really excited that I get to represent the Lightning next year on the board.
Thank you.
I want to just piggyback on Maxine's comment, which when we were trying to create the process for this way back when, we had a lot of passionate adults, both who had sentimental attachments from the past and adults who are currently involved in Franklin. And we made a decision to go heavy on student representation in the process and on the committee. We had some discussion around that, and I'm glad we did, and I know you guys all were really the leaders of this process. So I hope you're excited for how it feels next year.
Okay, just to make it officially official, the resolution passes by a vote of 7-0. Thank you. Okay, I'm now going to recess the board from its regular meeting and convene as the Budget Committee. Superintendent Guerrero, would you like to make any comments about amendments to the 2018-19 budget?
I know that our Deputy Superintendent and Budget Director likely want to.
Sure. Hello, Board. I am here on behalf of our CFO tonight, who is not able to join us. We have what I believe is a pretty straightforward budget amendment resolution. We're asking the board to move appropriations within funds, no new appropriations, nothing from contingency, just moving from one program to another. In Fund 101, from support services to instruction, and Fund 205, the same. Both of those caused by...
Could you tell them what the fund names are? Thank you.
Well, Fund 101 is general fund. Fund 205, I do not know off the top of my head.
Special revenue.
Well, we have two special revenue funds represented, sorry. So in Fund 101 and Fund 205, which is general fund and special revenue fund, we are moving from support services to instruction. This is just due to increased investment in instruction. It has to do with how we code payroll positions. Primary cost drivers on both of these are payroll expenses. In Fund 299, which is where we account for our grants, we're asking to move $50,000 from support services to facilities acquisition and construction. Between the approved and adopted budget process for 2018-19, this change happened, and nobody currently on staff knows why, but there was a $50,000 planned expense for facilities acquisition and construction, so we're going to ask the board to basically revert that appropriation back to the approved budget level. And then in Fund 450, which is where we account for our bond construction projects, we're asking to move $100,000 from facilities acquisition and construction to support services to fund an increase in our insurance expenses.
If those are the only hanging chads that we have from that whole process, I think that's pretty good.
Okay, any questions or discussion? Okay, the board will now consider Resolution 5904, amendment to the 2018-19 budget for school district number 1J, Multnomah County, Oregon. Do I have a motion and a second?
So moved.
Second.
Director Bailey moves, Director Constam seconds the motion to adopt resolution number 5904. Ms. Huff, is there any public comment? Okay, any further board discussion? Or any discussion at all? Okay. The board will now vote on resolution 5904. All in favor, please indicate by saying yes.
Yes.
Yes. All opposed, say no. Any abstentions? Resolution 5904 is approved by a vote of 7-0. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. I will now adjourn the board as the Budget Committee and call the board back into its regular session. Okay. The board will now consider the remainder of its business agenda, having already voted on resolutions 5900 and 5904. Are there any items you want to pull for separate discussion and a vote?
Yes, I'd like to pull out the Head Start resolution.
Okay. Ms. Huff, are there any changes to the business agenda? No? Okay. Okay, so we'll pull out the discussion of the Head Start. And Superintendent Guerrero, do we have anyone present who can?
We have some of our early ed team here present this evening to take any of your questions, directors.
So I had a couple of programmatic questions. Oh, sorry.
I'm Eileen Isham, co-director of Head Start.
And I am Robert Cantwell, co-director with Eileen.
Great. So I had one sort of legal question. Maybe it's a future legal. Do you have the answer?
I have.
So I'll ask my legal question first, and then I have a couple content questions. So in the resolution, it has that we're the federal requirements that we're the governing board, and just in terms of being in compliance with federal law, what are the requirements other than us just approving?
So, we have
Is that the question you were prepared to answer?
What I can do is I have under section, it's under 42 U.S. Code, it's the federal guidelines as a governing body, which school board is. You have the legal and fiscal responsibility for Head Starts, and so there's a long list of responsibilities. Mainly, it's about oversight, maintenance, ensuring annual review, the things that you're being asked to look at today in terms of ensuring that there is the approving financial management of the system, reviewing and improving policies for the Head Start program, reviewing the performance and ensuring that those data points are met with your annual goals.
There's the annual training requirement too for the board, right?
Yeah, we did that in February, I believe.
Great. Could you share? Could that be shared with the?
I can share this document with you. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Right before the.
I can also share what kind of guides our work, which is the performance standards that were redone in 2007, I believe. And there's a whole section on program governance that I actually sent in today. And then there's also the Head Start Act, which gives a lot more detail, which I need to share with you as well. And it's section 642C1E of the Act, and it kind of outlines all the different items that we need to have our policy council look at, approve, make recommendations to, and then share with the board, get board resolution on.
Great. So tonight we're reviewing your self-assessment and the goals for next year. The financial piece, is that done as part of our annual budget?
It's part of when we, so the budget, which will come with our grant for next year. So every year we have to renew our grant. It's a continuation grant. It's a 5-year grant. We're going into year 2 of the continuation grant. So that will be, we will ask to have that reviewed this summer, and the budget will be attached to that.
Okay, great.
And what I can do is provide you a detailed memo of the governing body's responsibilities, so you have that for
That would be
delivered?
great, just
that be
because reading
helpful?
through the resolution is like, oh, do we have greater responsibilities here than it's sort of other programs, and it sounded like it's.
I'll do that for you.
I think one other thing to share is that most grantees are not in school districts. We're very unique in that way, and we are 54 years into this with Portland Public, which is pretty exciting. We're one of the originals. But other boards have, there's a configuration of what people need to be on that board. But in the act, it says that if it's an elected school board, that we're exempt from that, because we do have layers of other supports. We have financial people, we have curriculum people, all lawyers, all those kinds of things that are supposed to be on a Head Start board.
So I just had two questions about the plan. I want to thank Director Esparza Brown, who's been the Head Start and designee, for schooling me or educating me on all things Head Start. So the two questions I had, one was around attendance, and the attendance numbers for the goal was 85%, there was a goal related to attendance, and we had 67% of the students having attendance 85% or greater. And I'm recalling from last year, the number was similar, and and I know there's a strategy in here, but I'm wondering what the long-term trend is, because 67% is low. And then the following question is, is there something we can do to increase the attendance? Director Esparza Brown had talked about having a full day programs had been helpful, but I'm just curious, is something we could be doing as a policy body too?
So that we have much better attendance in our full day programs, because there are so many more parents working and going to school now with the economy the way it is. So part of the last resolution, we asked that we actually drop 25 slots to create more extended day. We don't have any more money to do it, but we will fill those slots. We found that the half-day sessions has quite poor attendance, and they're hard to keep full. So that's one thing. The way we look at attendance is much deeper now, and our overall attendance per month is supposed to be at 85, and if it's not, we need to research why and document that. But we have had really good attendance overall, but when you dive in, only 67% of the children had 85 or better. So there's a new performance standard that came out, and if a child is below 80% in their attendance, the family's advocates have to go to the family and work out a plan to help the family have better attendance. So that's kind of new. And this is a new way of really looking at it. Like, so how many kids really are at 85%? And if they're not, what are you doing differently? Another thing we started, I think we're in year 2, or maybe we're in year 1, because we talked about it all last year, is we do a Help Me Grow tree, and it's very colorful. One of our parents created for us, but we download the data for that particular child on what their attendance is, and talk to the parents about that 3 times a year at our fall conference, our winter conference, and our spring home visit, and then really emphasize the importance of good pre-KK attendance is a good indicator of 3rd grade reading and graduation from high school. So we are very aware of the importance.
So between making more full day slots and having a plan, if they drop below 80%, do you expect that number to go up, or are these?
We do. You know, our ultimate goal in 5 years was to be have 80% of our kids at 85 or better. And we know we're at 67, so we just know we have to keep monitoring that and work hard with the families.
Great. And then the other question I had related to the ensuring all children and families are receiving support to be healthy and ready to learn. There was data relating to dental and vision, and like the number of screening, the referrals, and then treatment. And as you move across the spectrum, there seems to be a fair amount of drop-off of those that actually then get treatment. And so I was
And we
curious, is
know
there
that
something you
that's a
need from
challenge.
the board or the district that to reverse those numbers?
Well, we
Or not reverse them, but I guess improve them so that students are getting what.
Right, because we do a great job of screening for dental and vision. You know, we work with the KCI Institute. I mean, we've got a lot of great screening tools. It's the follow-up that we really are trying to focus on. And we look at actually lists of kids, like who are these children, what classrooms are they in, where do they attend, and who can support us. So do we go to our family service worker? Do we have the nurse reach out to those individual families? So that's all part of the strategy of trying to figure out, okay, so you've got these numbers, what are you going to do about it? What strategies do you have? What supports do we have? We have contracts with dentists if they need dental work and they don't have insurance, but a lot of our families, as you can see, 94% of our families do have insurance now. We help them access that and get the support they need.
So it's not just this program that has a problem with follow-up to screenings. This is a statewide problem. And I think it speaks to the need for better integration of healthcare, which is unfortunately beyond our purview. But I think it's something that we should all be individually, if not collectively, advocating for on a state basis. I did have one question about the 94%, I think, insurance rate.
With health insurance.
I'm curious, it's high, but
it could be
given
100.
Medicaid expansion, it probably could be higher.
Yeah, and I think that's something we have to help families navigate sometimes.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of issues some families are dealing with, and sometimes that's not the focus. But we're lucky to have family service
Right.
workers that help families navigate systems.
So there might be some external resources to PPS that we could tap into to help with that.
That would be wonderful.
And also on the follow-up. So.
Okay.
Yeah, just
So
on,
let us
on the
know.
follow-up. So the Head Start program is responsible for the screening,
Yes.
and then the getting treatments. I'm just looking at the vision. 16% referred of the 60% completed treatment. So it implies that 40% of the students who needed some sort of vision correction or
Correct.
assistance didn't get it. Does Head Start it's your responsibility just to, I guess like the rest of PPS, just to do a referral, or is it that we have some sort of more formal arrangements for, like, we give them a referral, or they get the results of the screening, it's really up to families, or?
Well, it's up to families to get to the appointment, and maybe that's where we can help. But the KCI Institute, OHSU, I mean, there's a lot of resources out there. It's just getting the family to the resource. We found out this year that, was it the KC Institute? I don't know. But they would even provide transportation. So we just need to really understand that information and know how to access it for families.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just going to say, as somebody who couldn't see the top letter in the eye chart, that can have profound impacts on the students' abilities to learn or just to
Absolutely.
socialize or everything else. So if we can unlock that, it seems like that would be really living up to our giving all students, really being ready to learn. That's all the questions I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, are there any other Okay, let's do the motion first. Do I have a motion to adopt a motion and a second to adopt the business agenda?
So move.
Second.
Director Constam moves, Director Esposito-Brown seconds the motion to adopt the business agenda. Is there any other board discussion on the business agenda? Nope. Okay. We will now vote on the business agenda. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The business agenda passes by a vote of 7-0. Okay. So I will adjourn in a moment, but we are going to adjourn this regular meeting and then move upstairs to the Mazama room for a work session. Next Tuesday, June 18th, we'll have another work session, and the next regular meeting of the board will be held on June 25th. Okay, the meeting is adjourned.